Okay, welcome, everybody. We are starting. It is 6:09. Kimberly, we'll get kicked off with our June meeting for Athens Cultural Affairs Commission. So Kimberly sent out a draft of the minutes earlier today. Folks had a chance to review those. There's a motion to accept those minutes.
Is there any discussion on it? Should we do that first?
Oh, we can do that afterwards.
Okay. So I moved to approve the minutes with as is, no changes.
Second, Darcy, seconds. Any discussion? Okay. The minutes are good, Kimberly. Everybody, all in favor? Any opposed? Okay, that carries forward. Ta-da. I want to welcome all, we have a lot of new faces in the room tonight, so we're going to take a little extra time and do some introductions. And we will start with Sally. She's sitting across from me. Yeah.
Hey, everybody. My name is Sally Kimmel Shepherd. I'm here because I live in Athens and I love the artistic culture here. I want to be a part of it as much as possible. I also am the director of Envision Athens. And before that, I was the director of the Cottage, which is the Sexual Assault Center and Children's Advocacy Center. And I'm a social worker. I have 2 kids in Clarke County schools, and I'm delighted to be here. So thank you.
So my name is Stephanie Rains. I'm the Arts Division Administrator and one of 2 cultural liaisons for the Athens Cultural Affairs Commission.
I'm Alex Baum. I'm Leisure Services, and I am your tech supporter for the night.
I'm Marissa Chastain. I live in Athens. I am the Director of Membership and Marketing for the Athens Area Chamber of Commerce and serve on the board for Athens Pride and Career Collective and New Chistes and lead Athens alumni. And I'm happy to be here.
I am Jan Bush. I am a board member with the Athens Area Arts Council, so I am ex officio with the Cultural Affairs Commission, and I work at the Council on Aging.
I'm Victoria Pravat. I'm chair of the ACAC for right now, and I run a small business here in town called Good Works, work with nonprofits. So welcome to all the new faces. We're so happy that y'all are here.
I'm Madeline Blankenship. This is my 2nd term on the ACAC. That's enough.
My name is Jessica Smith, and I'm the Music and Arts Editor for Clavicle Magazine, and I'm happy to be here.
I'm Frances Oliver. I'm the Communications Manager at the Home Art School of Art, and so I'm happy to be here.
I'm Kimberly Davis. This is my 1st term on the CAC, 4th generation later than I'm a journalist and recovery.
I am also one of those. I'm Mark Motley. I do marketing and communications for the Performing Arts Center.
I'm Darcy St. Ange, and it's my 2nd term, I believe, on the ACC, and I'm also the director. Well, glad you guys are here, and we have lots of people.
I know, a lot of new people. So we'll do more orientation and some welcoming. So just if you have questions as we go through this meeting today, please don't hesitate to just speak out, but you will get formally oriented and welcomed probably in July. We do have 1 officer vacancy. We're not going to try to fill that tonight because you're all brand new, so we won't startle you with that. But as I'm serving as chair, Kimberly has agreed to serve as vice chair moving forward, and Darcy is our treasurer. But we do have a vacancy for secretary, and Kimberly's holding that spot right now. So if there's any interest in being secretary, there's a wonderful template for meeting minutes. It's really not super complicated, but if that's something, if you're interested in being in a leadership role, please reach out and we'll try to make a decision about that at our July meeting. With that, I'll turn it over to Darcy for treasurer's report and Stephanie.
I don't know if we want to learn about the new stuff first.
Yeah.
Or.
Yeah, so this has been a year with a lot of transitions around how we do this. And all of us within the ACC government and in the manager's office, City Hall, we've been in a lot of dialogue around the sort of ways that are the best do the work that we have set out for us here. So that has been, in the past, this group had money allocated for operating expenses. You also have capital budget. Those operating funds are now going to be housed within the leisure services budget line so that they don't need accounting on your end. And because the way that we were having to actually spend that money, it was far too many steps. So now they will be directed through staff, primarily Tatiana and myself. And those will be funds to support the recommendations and the programs and the needs that are brought about through the work that we do here in the cultural affairs. So there won't be a need for y'all to do a budget request any longer or, monitor and maintain the numbers. That will all be done internally within leisure services. And so that money is like tucked within the larger departmental budget of leisure services now, of which, if y'all don't, just broader, the leisure services includes like the recreation division, the nature division, the arts division, and so like its own administrative, it's one of the largest departments. So we have plenty of ways in which to facilitate and buy and manage the needs of all of our stuff. So it'll just be a lot smoother going forward. Which is different than we have been doing it, but this will be the way we're going to do it going forward. So this budget's already been moved over for the next fiscal year, which starts at the end of the month or next month, technically. Is that about bring it up? Yeah.
Does it start July 1 or July 31?
July.
Or not August? Yeah, July.
This fiscal year will end June.
Right, cool.
So I think our biggest thing that we need to figure out for the operating budget, so we have 3 budgets right now. We have the operating budget, and then we have the capital budget, and then the SPOS budget, but so I guess we'll just have the capital and the SPOS moving forward.
Yeah, those will be parts of things that we talk about, yeah.
Okay, but right now, so this year we have $45,000 for our operating budget, and we've only, as of this point, spent 6,909 of it. We have 15,000 allocated for the signage for the bus shelters. Is that still gonna come out? So that should be good. And then at the last meeting, we allocated 300 to piano tuning, and those are the 2 pianos. One was at the Council on Aging, and what's the other one?
At the library.
Library. Okay, yeah, so those are about $300 there. And then we had some table fees for things like AthFest and and then, so all, like any kind of event that they're having in Athens that we might have a table at. And then another 700 that we were looking into for ACA apparel, so maybe some like t-shirts or hats or something that just would identify us as ACAC. But even at that, so we still have funds to use, and I feel like we need to kind of figure out what's next with those.
Does that include the website?
Let's see, let me just get rid of them. We still have at 21,391. And we had originally talked about doing the video and like the bus shelter brochures, but I'm not sure we have enough time in our, because we have to do in the next 3 weeks.
Well, just to add to that, the items have to be delivered.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So it's, we actually just got a memo today, and it is the 15th, if I remember right, the end of this week is the last time it could potentially get a PO cut. So if it's anything over $24.99 or $2,499, we're not gonna make that.
And I guess there's no, I don't know, we just had so much trouble with getting information on how to use this money. And like what the actual procedure was, because it's changed so much. And so like that really stalled us for like pretty much the last 3 months. So is there any, I don't know if there's anybody we could talk to about, being able to still do something with those funds?
You'd have to no, not really, not at this point. I mean, it'd have to be like extraordinary circumstances and like this was the first year too that it was that much. It was 20. So you spent what you spent last year already. So it's like it was a doubled amount. So I don't know. Without extraordinary means and justification for that extraordinary expense, I don't think it's likely.
Yeah.
And I'll take it a second to say, so not spending that this year won't hit, I mean, you're still gonna receive what was allocated next year. So it does not roll over just for y'all new folks, the operation dollars don't roll over. But should be receiving the same thing in the Leisure Services Department next fiscal year, starting July 1. What happens to that money, just for everybody to know? That actually rolls back into the ledger for ACC and funds capital technically not this fiscal year, but the year after that. So it kind of, a lot of departments look at it like, oh, I've got to spend those money we've been given, but we also all have capital needs as well. So the capital money you guys receive is really leftover funds from 2 years ago. So it's still opaque. Don't feel like there's any kind of pressure to spend down.
Can you just go over why we got the budget that we got the previous year? Like, I understand what our budget was last year, and I wasn't here for this part, so I'm not sure why it was so much more. And then what we were trying to spend it on, what we were not able to spend it on.
We specifically requested it to make more and larger arts and community awards, and that was stalled for 8-9 months. While there was a lot of clarification happening in the city attorney's office around how that could be appropriately enacted. And then by the time we got a resolution, there was just not enough time under the way that they wanted us to do it. And also the additional, great, transparency training is the word I'm looking for the public on this is how, here's a good way to do an application, that kind of thing that Leisure Service wanted to add, but it added even more time, so we just couldn't pull it off this year. So that's what the funds are for.
Was there a part you were still?
No, it feels to me like there's extraordinary circumstances, and that we should have an opportunity, because I do know that as part of the website, we talked about doing a video. We were seeking clarification last month about if the video is voted into our website. Has that been clarified?
Is the web, I don't even have an update on the website at this time. Helen is still the contact person for the website. They resumed their work on the website.
So we don't know if the video was folded into that amount, because that was something that we wanted to talk about doing for outreach.
But I guess in order to do, yeah, we talked about that last time too, or I remember talking about that last time as well, but, I haven't gotten an update from Helen, haven't heard from Helen. One, and then two, to make a contract addition would be, we would, even if we were under contract for it, it would still have to be delivered. So unlike the website, which they're working on, but it's not gonna be done by the end of June, that's okay, but the video wouldn't qualify as the same.
I think the level of the work they've accomplished on the website before we put the pause, met that. So I'm not sure, actually. That's a good question.
It really should all be delivered. Technically, so we'll need to talk to them about.
Even though we were told to pause.
I hear you.
Yeah.
Yeah.
If there's officially yours.
They are with AKO, and we just need to proof them, and they'll be in hand by the end of the month. They won't be installed, but the signs will be made.
So then those will be delivered,
We will have those in hand.
but website that we've been working on for how long will not be ready because
I don't know. I have to ask I don't have an update on the website's readiness at this moment.
Because we've only paid for half of that.
Yeah.
So,
We paid for half of it so far.
yeah, I feel like these are very extraordinary circumstances, and I think we need to do whatever we need to do to make sure that the new website that we approved gets funded again, because it was, I don't even remember who told them to start back up. Was that you, or who was supposed to do that?
I did.
And so it's just, it's messed up. It's messed up. I'm trying to be diplomatic, but it's messed up. Like, we went and entered into contract with Captivate to spend this money on our website. We started working on it. All of a sudden, everything that we were doing was put on pause because of issues with funding, how we were gonna do this and how we were gonna do that. We asked questions every month, and we didn't get a solution. We didn't get answers.
The solution is that the
No, I'm saying
mayor
until-
commission approved. Yeah.
Until last month, we got a solution. But things were put on pause for several months before that. And so I would hate for us to have started the work on the website and for it to not get completed because it can't be delivered.
It will be completed and it will get delivered. It's just I'll just have to check to see where the status of it is and if that funding comes out of this year's budget or next year's budget, but Captivate will get compensated.
Okay. This year's budget or next year's budget, which will limit what we're able to do next year, correct?
Right. Well, I mean, it depends. You have to have a spending plan for what you're gonna do, which is what we'll have a plan for next time, like what.
Have that plan, and we need to work on that.
Yeah.
Now that we know what we can spend money on,
Yeah.
through the ACC Leisure Services budget. So there's just a lot of murkiness around this, and we want to make sure, and I believe we need to make sure that process is defined, written down and distributed, particularly to us, in terms of what it is that we need to do in order to get a budget for our group that's part of the ACC Legal Services budget. What is the process for being able to spend or allocate any funds? And then see how we're going to be maintaining, we talked before about Darcy as treasurer. What's her role? What's the role of the treasurer right now? So there's just still, even though we got a solution, there's still a lot of murkiness around us. And it's confusing.
Well, you're at a very, this is a transition right here. We have gotten more clarification as liaisons, and again, I serve as liaison for the Greenway Commission, so I'm also in these meetings with Stephanie. We've got more clarification over spending rules over the past probably 2 months, maybe 3. And we've been asking for clarification for a while.
As of late.
On y'all's behalf.
Yeah.
And I just, so for everybody new in the room, that this is a transition. It's clear, I'll say it that way, by the attorney's office, which can read code of ordinances and tell us how, how they interpret it, and we have to, implement those procedures. So, I understand it's been some growing pains recently, but I feel the best right now compared to 3 or 4 months ago, because we actually do have a path forward, and we will write those things down. And we're gonna ask you guys to make a spending plan for next year to help guide how we can help spend out that money.
And so my question then is, if we are not able to complete the website before and not have it delivered, whatever amount that we owe on to complete the website, will we be able to add that to the budget that we were going to have moving forward?
You will not be able to increase next year's budget, but they will be paid for the work they do that's in June.
Can we like just ask like, what percentage of it is completed? So then we could maybe give them like a partial,
That's exactly what I'm saying, yes.
an extra payment or something? I don't know.
Yeah, because we don't know what they are. There's a lot of what ifs, but we can
Yeah.
figure out where they are and they will.
And that's what, so Stephanie, are you the one who will be corresponding with Captivate, or do we need to make sure Helen does that?
Yeah, no, I'll call them and see where they're at.
Yeah, because I feel like, if say they're 90% done, like if we could at least give them that additional, I guess 40%, because we've paid them half so far, then that'd be great.
Any other questions on that? I mean, it is a murky time, so welcome.
Trying to battle. It's definitely a period of transition, and then we particularly have new people coming on board, I want them to understand sort of where we are and how things got to be there. So I think transparency is important, and that's, I'm also a journalist in recovery, so I ask questions.
So the spending plan, could we talk about like what that would look like in context with this, strategic plan? What's the word I'm looking for? The retreat, we talked about basically redoing what we did last year that was not as effective as it should have been. And what the timeline for that might be like, because I feel like that's just inherently tied to, spending plan, but yeah.
I mean, I would think you guys would want a spending plan in July or August, right? With that, is there a format for that, or do you know? Is that something
No,
we
we've
just
never,
present?
never seen one before because we've
Okay.
never done them like this before,
Yeah,
so.
we can definitely provide you with what it looks like.
Yeah.
They're not always right. The Greenway Commission has been making one for a while, so I can at least share what that looks like
That would be
from a
awesome.
similar body.
Okay.
And it really is just taking the full amount, which is
42, I think.
42,000, and being specific with how and when, so that we as a staff can be working, because it's drag out, but when we do a PO, it goes through many, many, many steps that are external to our department, but then also have steps within our department as well. So if we know what the goal is and when the deliverable is supposed to happen, we can kind of back those out and get on other people's calendars. We can share that with you.
Yeah, and then I think you've already answered this question that I have. If we're not spending all of our operating dollars this year, that doesn't penalize us for next year, right? That's, okay.
But
How
so
much
we
is it?
didn't have 45 this year.
It was 45. okay,
Yeah.
And it's
So-
the same.
It will.
Yeah.
Okay.
They've already approved the
Yeah,
budget,
it already got voted on.
so yeah, it's already done.
And if you want to double check, it's in the approved budget, it's under your leisure services department.
So would we be able to, like, so we had somebody who came in to help us with the retreat last year. Is that something that we could pay for ahead of time if they like already had the kind of curriculum or whatever established?
No, because they were not delivering the service until
So they have to serve us, okay. That might be a good use.
But something like photography that would, I mean, that would be explicitly like attached to the website. Is that something that we could, like, is any realm of possibility to be delivered before the end of the year? Because that's a way faster turnaround than like video
the photographs are for,
for just the website. Just documenting, because I know that in our drive, like Tatiana has a number of photos and like there's some that come from event photographers, but they're pretty inconsistent with, we don't have like every single thing documented in the same way. So it's just an idea.
Because we did talk about splitting up the pieces of art and volunteering and going and getting photos of everything so that we could catalog.
That was for maintenance, but I would think that for photography for the website, we want to get like. So we got the same eye looking. I don't know if we can get a contract on
I don't know. I don't know if it needs a contract. It depends on how they would need to be compensated and like the turnaround time on it. I don't know what would be considered a deliverable on that, I guess.
Yeah, I can think of a scenario where it could work. I just don't know how busy some people might be.
Yeah.
But it's definitely gonna look into that.
What about so what's the role next year for treasurer or next, I guess, fiscal year?
That, so the way I'm understanding the spending plan is it's like an idea of what y'all want to do throughout the course of a year based on like, events or the timeline, and then make a recommendation for what you think you need in support of those to achieve those goals. So here's our goals, like we want to increase this number of visitations to the website. We want to have more people coming to ribbon cuttings. We want to have more like professional development for Athens artists around public art applications, like something like that. And then you can recommend like, here's a service that provides this kind of thing. We think these are great choices. And then we go from there to like figure out what the cost and the recommendations are. And then we say, okay, we're gonna proceed with this. So it's a recommendation for how to spend these funds.
So the goals, basically, we need to get those first so that those can inform the spend.
Yep.
But what does that mean? Like, do we still need a treasurer? Do we?
Yeah, I don't know. I don't know. I
I'll tell you, other groups will,
still have treasurers?
yeah, other groups will have treasures as a form of fact checking, backing up, and it kind of helping to be keep the wind in the sail so that we can keep the projects moving forward.
Okay.
That's at least how it works in the other two groups. You are one of three groups like you, so.
There are over 60 VACs for Athens-Clarke County Unified Government, and the number of them, the complexity and the scrutiny around the work has created all of this changes over the last year. So that is why we had to press pause earlier so that the mayor and commission could actually technically vote in a way that met the ordinance threshold, so that you could actually expend the funds. So that's why we had to press pause. So once the mayor commission did that, we hit the green light on everything back again and brought us to this concept of the spending plans. And then the funds moving into the department. So that you're making a recommendation for how to do the work that you're here collectively to do, which is largely to recommend to the mayor and commission and to the government, projects around public art and ways of doing public art in Athens.
So it seemed really urgent that we get this like workshop or whatever we're gonna call it, like on the books, so that, because we can't really move forward with anything until that happens, so.
Yeah, and that's what we were trying to do a year ago with that retreat, and then, everything just kind of imploded for
Yeah.
6 to 8 months, so.
Yeah.
Try again.
So what we could do is go back to the notes from that retreat, because there was really robust notes and really great ideas from that retreat. They just never got launched because everything sort of started transitioning kind of quickly right after that. So I can circulate those again and maybe have on the agenda, or maybe we call another meeting, special meeting to just talk about goal setting.
I think it's a great idea.
Yeah.
A meeting just specific to goals.
Yeah, I feel like there's like almost two things. One is like an orientation to kind of bring the new members like kind of up to speed and some of there's like this online education that you'll do around the sort of like technical legal things around your emails, and that your emails are open to like Freedom of Information Act requests and things like that. So talking about those transparencies and responsibilities around money, and then those open meetings and just like the way we conduct government business. So there's those kinds of education, which we finally got like an online education component for that. So you can tap that with your email address. Then there's like orienting around what is the mission of of this body, and like, how does it operate? So that's like, it's almost like two things. That's, well, yeah, so you have orientation, and then you have, what are we gonna do all together over the next
Yeah,
year?
orientation, just new members strategy would be everybody.
Yeah, so that leads kind of perfectly into the next agenda item, which is the BAC training. Do you want to talk about, I mean, has anybody done it, worked on it?
I've enrolled.
I just want to share, because Floss Office is asking if we could talk about their item quick.
Oh, sure.
Do you mind?
No, not at all.
They could. Other things going on.
Okay, we're gonna jump to that in the.
Yeah, Diana's on there.
I am.
Okay, so this is the arena piece.
That is.
Okay.
Yes.
The arena that is being built has 3 public art components to it. And so we have, one is a sculpture, one is a large scale external, like sort of 2-dimensional mural piece that spans 2 floors. And the third site is an internal mural that is about Georgia music history. So 1, 2, 3. We put out the calls, we got people in, we did RFQs, and we got final proposals. So an RFQ is like request for qualifications. From those, we selected people to submit formal proposals. And then we gathered people together for selections on those formal proposals. So 1, 2, 3 selection groups. So of the 3, the third one, the internal mural, was a clear like decision made that everyone felt solid about. The other 2 were less decisive. And so what we're faced with now is something we've never faced before through our sort of selection process and the sort of scoring rubric that we've been using, which is sort of 2 things. One choice is for the site 1, which is the large scale sculpture. There was one selection that had higher sort of selected points, or the points system, but the other secondary piece turned out to be more of like, there was dialogue around whether that was actually the best choice between these 2 works of the 4. And then there was the second external mural, similar thing, where the discussion was like, are we making the right choice? Should we revisit the rubric of the numbers? So what we're asking y'all today is to contemplate a process choice. If there is not a clear winner in dialogue or in number, do we reconvene fresh new selection panels to choose between just those 2 works? Or did we go with the one that was like the numeric choice, even though there was dialogue around having a recount's not the right word, but a revisit? Those are really, I guess, the 2 pieces in front of us, which is, do you want to hold new selection panels for both the site 1 and site 2, which is the external mural and the large scale sculpture? Or should we go with what those originals went with?
Yeah.
Is that it, Diana?
Yes, but I also think you say that we haven't done this before. It's my understanding, discussions with Tatiana, that we had a second panel for Rainbow Forest.
Yeah, that's true. Actually, you're right. Sorry.
Okay, so it's been done, there's precedent to do this. And, we'll be taking this to so there's no July work session, so we'll be taking it to the August work session. And so there is time, if you guys want to do a separate, entirely new selection panel. And they may still have issues between the finalists. Or they may not. They may say, oh, this one's clearly the winner. You know, so I mean, it's truly up to you. Again, we've done it once before, but only once.
Diane, I have a question. With the second panel for Rainbow Forest, was it reconsidering all of them?
I'm sorry, you're cutting in and out. So say that one more time, please.
For the second panel for Rainbow Forest, was the second panel reconsidering just the 2 or however many that were sort of in contention or that received the highest scores, or was it a whole fresh process looking at all the proposals? Do you know?
So I don't know, but I can only assume that we weren't starting fresh and that we were going with the finalists because when you do a qualifications based one, you shortlist and then you pay the artist to come up with the actual proposal that they're proposing to do. So we did not start all over with shortlisting. So, and I don't know necessarily, I would think that if we did this, so some of them had 3 finalists, okay? And so I would assume that we would just go with 1 and 2, and they would choose between 1 and 2, that we wouldn't bring 3 into the mix because 3 wasn't part of the discussion. Does that sound right, Stephanie?
That sounds right.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
I have a question about the voting process. Is it like a ranked choice thing and everybody puts in, here's my number 1, number 2, so then whatever comes up, like in the top, or how does it work? Stephanie, could you answer?
No, it's like a whole rubric based on like how they respond to the call and like all of these. It's just, it comes out. There's
Like we did
all
at Arts and
choices.
Community Awards,
Yeah.
okay. Okay. Well then,
So would a middle ground option, or maybe this is what you're saying, but if there were 4 artists who submitted for the request for proposal and the original panel narrowed it down to their top 2, could there be another selection panel who then again receives those top 4? So we're not asking for new proposals, we're just presenting all the options to start completely fresh with those artists that were selected.
So that's choice. So we could either call a brand new selection panel that selects from the top 2 that were the ones that are so close and they just pick between the 2, or start from the whole, all 4 again, which we could lead us to the same, you know, to the same conversation, which is where we are right now.
it would also bring the challenge of how would that user group respond, I guess, when all of their deliberations are just completely redone versus if you moved it to just the final 2 and then almost putting it in a tiebreaker situation with this other group. I would imagine that might go over a little better because you're preserving sort of the work and the dialogue that you had with that original panel rather than starting fresh for, well, that didn't work out, let's totally vote on all 4 again. That's my instinct anyway.
That's a good point. That's good.
And I fully agree with you, Madeline. Yeah.
Are
Sorry.
there any, oh, no, I'm sorry.
Thanks,
Are there any inherent disadvantages to holding the additional panel? Like, I'm just trying to weigh what the cost benefit concern.
So the timing that we originally were trying to do is be in the June, have a June work session while Tatiana's in Morocco. And then have the August vote. And so we've already punted on that. And so we are going to have the August work session and the September vote. So we've already pushed it 1 month with the mayor and commission. And all that does is just drags out but you know, I don't necessarily know how much it actually changes when the art's done versus when the arena's done. So I don't think we've already made that decision from time standpoint. So I don't think that comes into anything.
So one thing to consider is this is a process change. If this comes up at the next selection, if this comes up at the one after that, it does add time. And at times it has been hard to find enough people to be on a selection panel at times. It sounded like these were actually pretty well attended. I wasn't out. But at the same time, if you guys deem that process to be what's right, we will follow. We will adjust which mayor and commission cycle it goes to. So don't feel that pressure. Sorry, it's lost, but don't feel that pressure so much if you tell us that that's the process, because the recommendation to mayor and commission comes from this body.
Right, and I already think that we've already changed that time thing, so there's time still to convene a second body, Alex. We've already pulled that trigger in Splost office, because we didn't feel like, because, you know, everything's due the 28th kind of thing, and so, yeah, we just didn't want to do that. So, yeah, there's time to convene a second body if that's what y'all choose to do, okay?
And here's just some contextual things about these selection processes. Is often when we gather in this space or in a room where we are going through the proposals that people have submitted, artists have submitted, when the one that is selected is there, everyone in the room is like, they get it, and we all leave that room that night feeling a sense of like, we've selected the work. And from my understanding, I was not at that meeting, but that was not the sensation in the room. Okay. And the point is here is like, we have an opportunity to revisit this, to give it more thought and to take time. It's a considerable amount of money. It's a considerable, very front and center work of art that's going to be in a very public place. Lots of visitors to our community will be walking these halls and moving across this campus. It's right in downtown. And we have a moment to reconsider this. So this is why we've asked y'all to recommend to us what you think. Should we go with what was selected numerically from the choices? Should we revisit this and convene a brand new selection group of new people to see these works and make a secondary consideration?
Can you remind me how many people were at that first round?
I think,
12?
yeah, the first.
Roughly a dozen.
A dozen?
Yeah.
I mean, to me, the way I think about it is fast forward several months down the road, not everyone in this community is gonna like whatever's put up there. So when I think about any pushback on how this committee or this commission made decisions and recommendations, I would feel much better saying to people, we went through the process twice. To me, I'm sort of thinking about it from that end. Whatever is up there, you're gonna have a group of people, there's gonna be some people who love it and some people who don't. And I'd rather our process be, we weren't sure, it was not 100% clear, so we went back and we had it done again with the final two. That seems like a way to respond to that in the future. That's just how my brain is thinking about it.
I agree. I think especially with the scale of this project.
Yeah.
That's something to be considered, that I don't know, it seemed dismissive to just go with the numbers that preceded the discussion that panel had.
I hear two things going on here. It's like, what do you do now with the current situation? But then what do you do? Is the policy piece to how can we make this not happen again? You know, or are we just setting the precedent? It's okay for us to have a couple groups.
I mean, Diana's correct. I'm glad she reminded me we did do this for it was a long time ago. We did have to do this for the selection for that Greenway piece that is now the Rainbow Forest. So it's a matter of like, codifying our process. And like, I think what's great is that we have, that's one of the reasons we have this commission, is so that we can take the steps that are necessary to bring the right work to the right people in the right places. And that means, sometimes that means we have some, opportunities to like revisit it and add to our, like, to codify like our process, which is what we can do. So we have precedent for doing this before. We have time, and we have, I think, people willing in our community it would be all new people on the selection committee. It would be all brand new folks. And I think we've had some interest, granted, a lot of people have been real interested in public art in the last 6 months. So we could find some folks to join us, enough people. I think we would try to match the same number of folks in the room, perhaps, so that we felt like we had a good representation of the community to make this choice. So that would be, also we need to clarify that is for both of the sites, because it's 2 out of the 3 sites that would need to be. So we can call a selection panel for both, or 1 for each, probably, selection panel for each, I don't know.
Depends on how many people you get, but so somebody asked the question, how many people? So there were 11 for site 1 and there were 10 for site 2.
Are there any guidelines on the number of people for a selection committee, a panel or whatever?
And following up on that, is there anything, standard for the number of staff versus public at large?
I don't think there's, typically we make them up of like a mixture. I don't know that we have it codified, especially like it needs to be this percentage staff and this percentage from the public. We usually just try to create like a mix, because each project is so different, so I guess. We did invite people from the site, typically, people who are gonna be actually like helping maintain doing the maintenance and having be a part of it because it's on their facility.
Right. And so this one, we had the 2 people from the Classic Center on both of those committees because they're the people who live with it every day. Right. So.
And it's typically also too for greenway ones. And again, we're usually there for, as one of the rubric points is maintenance and upkeep, so.
Just seems like these are big projects, like particularly these 2, you know, and I feel like it's 12 people in our community who are making that kind of selection is small. So maybe when we have a project that is a certain budget, then we make a push to get more people on the panel and not do the panel. But I'm not sure how that, I don't know who kind of invites them to panels or how difficult it is to get people to join.
A lot of times we get commissioners to make recommendations too. You know,
Like if it's in a commissioner's district, we encourage that commissioner to like encourage their constituents to join up. We have a online on our website where you can sign up, and we have tons of people on email. So we send out emails to say, here's some upcoming selections and do you want to join us for these? And we host them and we have, explain everything and have the process of them.
We also have a general sign up form that anybody can sign up for at any time, and we pushed it all day at Pride Festival, and Kimberly and I were tabling there, and we gave out individual slips of paper so that people could take them home. And I'm trying to figure out right now if I can see how many people have scanned it. But when Tatiana gets back, I think she could find out how many new signups we have just from that action that we took. So I think we're pushing it now more than ever. So that's pretty good.
I also feel like, and I don't mean to say this bad, but I think there's diversity that's needed on some of these panels too.
Yes.
That was my question, because I think that was a concern or a question that was raised is how can we, if we have the opportunity to have another panel come in, how can we make sure that it's a more diverse panel than
Right.
present for the first selection?
Right.
If you guys are prescribing selection panels, also having not just the commissioner, but local, like neighbors to where these things are going in is also
Right.
really hard to join before us to get some neighbors involved in that, because they drive by it. And
I feel
Okay,
like
so-
with Rainbow Forest, because I was on that panel, and I feel like we did the rubric, and then we maybe had like the top 5, and then we just chose of the top 5, we said 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, like what we liked the best to the worst. And then ultimately chose Rainbow Forest based on that. I'm not 100% sure that's how it happened, but that's my recollection. And I wonder if that would be a good opportunity if we do have a panel that we feel is like a sufficient representative panel, then we kind of go through the rubric, and then if it's still closed, then we can do the secondary kind of action.
I feel like there's 2 different things here, right? So there's a solution that we have to make for what's happening right now with classes and everything. And then moving forward, what's going to be the solution at that point? So I think what you're saying, Darcy, would be, possibly a great idea for if this comes up again, right, in terms of process. But I don't necessarily know if that's what we want to do for this particular one, because there was some contention.
So Stephanie, how many pieces of art has SPLOST sponsored? Do you know? 30?
Probably more than that, closer to like 45. Yeah.
Okay, so I mean, this happened once before. And so it's obvious that I think that the process works, okay? So I don't think necessarily we need to change it. I think we just need to be smart enough to say that if something like this happens again in the future, we have an option that we've used twice before, or maybe twice before. It depends on what you guys decide tonight, but it sounds like we're leaning towards convening a second independent panel for the top two qualifiers. Is that what I'm hearing? I see heads nodding.
Yeah,
Is
I think that's what I'm hearing.
Vote on, or is that something we can agree to?
I think someone would need to make a motion on how to move.
Before we do that, I'd like to hear from you, because you have a lot of experience in this area. Are you hearing anything that's like drastically different from what you?
Yeah, well, I worked for Art and Public Places in Miami-Dade County, which is a massive entity. So there's actually a professional advisory council that provides feedback on public art commission submissions. So it's a completely different process. I'm actually not accustomed to publicly formed kind of one-off panels that then provide this feedback. And the benefit of having a professional advisory council that's consistent is that, I mean, this is through public trust and goodwill, they're being, I guess, given the favor to make these calls on behalf of the constituency. And many of them are coming from backgrounds in the arts, in engineering and whatnot. And so they're able to really penetrate with the clients the kinds of questions that I think that, you know, the average kind of individual might not be primed to ask. So I think that there's a little bit of that, you get the direct engagement from stakeholders when you're holding these panels and you have members of the community engaging. I think that's really important, especially in a community of this size. But on the other side, you're lacking a little bit of that expertise that helps to push back and ask the kinds of questions that I think elevate the profile and the ideas and the execution of these projects. But that's like a really big conversation about how do you do public art. So in this very specific instance, I just had the question for transparency on how close those numbers were for us to be able to, because I understood that there was a qualitative feeling in the room that there wasn't consensus. But can you tell us how close those numbers were so that we get that sense?
In Arena Site 1, they were 9 points apart, and in Arena Site 2, they were 2 points apart.
Okay, and how off, like what is the range generally? I mean, say for the one that was really resolved, what was the difference between the top choice and the next one, I guess?
It was like double. It was like that one was doubled the score. So it was like 45 points higher
Oh,
for the mural.
okay. Because I'm wondering if in the, and I don't know how tied we would want to be to a cutoff in terms of the numerical value. But for that transparency of the procedure, for it to be understood at what point we make that call in the future.
So site 2 was 8% difference. Okay, and site 1 was, hold on, let me do the math. Was 12% difference. I mean, it's nominal.
Right, and I mean, am I allowed to say that voters were swayed during the discussion? So the end point was not the numbers, it was the discussion.
Okay.
Because once people change their, essentially through conversation, change their votes.
Right.
Well, and something else, the fact this happened for Rainbow Forest, it was another high dollar, large ticket. So that might be the trend that you're seeing. People care strongly about these bigger pieces.
Are we looking for a
I
motion?
think we need a motion
Yeah.
to make a recommendation.
I'll motion to convene a second selection panel to choose from the top 2 choices.
On each side.
It's site 1 and site 2.
Honestly, I thought there was a consensus on the second 2D mural. So I didn't realize we were talking about both of those, but
It was site 1 and site 2.
okay, then yes, I would motion to convene a second panel for both sites to choose between the previous panel's top 2 selections.
Second.
All in favor? Any opposed? Any discussion? Do you have what you need, Kimberly? Okay. Motion carries.
Do you need anything else from us, Diana?
I don't believe so. I think that when Tatiana gets back on the 20th, we'll start working on getting us another panel convened.
Okay.
I appreciate everybody's time tonight. Appreciate you letting the arena go first so I can let you guys go on and do the rest of your important work. I appreciate everything you guys do for the community, and you bring wonderful art to the community.
Thank you, Diana.
All right, bye.
So we'll go back up to the BAC training. Has anybody done the BAC training that's had an opportunity yet? I've done the first 3. Is anybody having any trouble figuring it out? Those who've had an opportunity, do you have?
I believe I need an ACC.gov email
Yeah, I
address.
think all the new folks need an
They're
ACC.
either way. I
Yeah.
just updated the PIO office with all of your first and last names. So you'll have an email address that is your first name dot second name at ACC.gov. And then you'll be able to log into our training portal and have the training at the ready.
Mhm. So that should happen. I mean, that was, once you get it, it was relatively quickly that link came in, and there's 5 training videos. I've gone through the first 3. They're only about 20 minutes, except for that third one is like 45 minutes. There's a quiz at the end of each of them. You have to get 100%, which I learned today because I got 95%. There was a trick question in there, in my opinion. But they're pretty simple. So yes, anything else about that you think is important? Stay tuned.
Got the link to do the training.
Did you request the training? Did you, maybe when,
We do it.
yeah, maybe redo it or reach out to Tatiana.
I
It took,
think, yeah. Not the other one. Okay.
And everything should come to that new email address now, correct?
that's right. Well, that was my question to you, Stephanie, because I think in that third one, it said, all BAC members will have an ACC address. I was under the impression that this one would go away after 90 days and that and then there's a whole thing in the training about have a separate address where you just are having your ACAC emails.
I thought you would have your ACC email addresses indefinitely. So
Okay.
if that is the case, then I misunderstood.
Well, somewhere and it might have just been a thing in the
I think
training.
it's the platform.
Okay,
Okay.
I think
That has a 90-day
okay.
time limit. Once you click
Got it.
like, okay, start, and then you have 90 days to,
Yeah.
or it'll like, I don't know.
I see. That makes way more sense.
Yeah,
Yeah,
the whole goal is for you guys to have ACC emails because they're open records.
right.
And so we want that, and also don't want to share your personal email addresses out in the world. But yeah, the Take Aim platform is the one that has the.
Okay, that makes a lot more sense. So yes, so from now on, we'll all those of us who have them already, that's the email address that you'll use moving forward. That makes
So
sense.
I'm still gonna be using that listserv? Or would that be,
I would assume the listserv would move to all the new ACs.
it'll be, all the email addresses will be transferred.
Yeah, I'm sure Tatiana will set up just a new list.
It'll go to like
Outlook.
the Microsoft 360 instead of the
Yeah.
Gmail, yeah.
Yeah.
And then I already asked Tatiana if she's gonna move, she was just saying she's gonna set up she'll set up some kind of new listing that'll have all emails. And I already asked her, she's gonna move all the Google Drive content to SharePoint, so it'll be like secure, in future, but it's not. like-
We're all, like, we just transitioned to this
Yeah.
new kind of, email thing, so we're all kind of trying to get everything over, and that'll all come over, and then you'll have everything under one. And your ACC email addresses.
Yeah. So it is simple once you have it, but it may take you a minute to get it figured out.
Warning,
trying to think of-
regarding doing it on your phone, it will log you out of every other Outlook account that you're logged into.
Yeah,
So maybe just don't do it on your phone. That was really frustrating to me today.
You can do it in incognito window. If you do a private window.
I just wanted it in like my app for ease of access, so don't do that if you don't wanna relive my mistake.
but you do get a cute little certificate emailed to you at the end of the open records one. It's like, you've completed this, Victoria. I'm like, cool, it's a little PDF, so you can add that stick that on your fridge when you're ready. Any other updates from staff under this miscellaneous updates?
Yeah, we covered a few of them, but like the signs for the artwork will come from AKO. we're working also with I'm working this week with a local graphic designer who's gonna help lay out the 2 poems that the poet laureate wrote, one for City Hall and one for the Morton Theater. We're kind of looking at scale right now because we're trying to decide, they're long poems. So to put them on a poster, it's gonna have to be pretty big for it to be legible. So we're kind of sussing that out right now.
Sorry, can you talk about the poem thing? I think I've heard it. I don't think I've heard about a poem thing.
Oh, yeah, the poet laureate wrote a poem for the Morton Theater, about the Morton Theater, and read it at the beginning of the Arts Summit last summer, the Arts Division hosted an Arts Summit, it was a Friday night and a Saturday, and we invited the poet laureate to read a poem for the occasion, and so he wrote a poem about the Morton Theater, and we would love to put it, so that people can read it in the Morton. And then also he wrote a poem for the mayor and commission and read it before a mayor and commission meeting about a month or 2 ago. And so that we just, to have those, like, this is the first poet laureate to have that, I guess, immortalized in print and a framed image to hang in both of those 2 sites. We still have a couple contracts that we're working through for the Firefly and the mural, waiting for like pieces and parts to come in. And the mayor's office has notified all of the new Athens Music Walk of Fame recipients, and Montu Miller will make the announcement from the AthFest stage, I believe Friday night.
Yes, Friday night.
During AthFest. And so those are all still mum's the word on those recipients. We'll announce them officially, but they've all been notified, and it's nice because Montu is on both this commission as well as on the Athens Music Walk of Fame commission that is through the mayor's office, so he's, kind of represents both. And, it's Montu is like a perfect person to acknowledge, music history, right? So, and also you can just give Montu a microphone and he will do the work. So that'll be from the AthFest stage. That is what I had for y'all.
Awesome.
Updates.
Cool. Outreach committee.
Cool. So I've made, well, okay, I'll start with the recap from Pride Fest. Really, I held down the fort. It was great. It was an amazing turnout. So great job to the Athens Pride and Queer Collective on that event. We couldn't go check out the parade, but the parade came to us, so it was still fun. But yeah, great event. Hundreds and hundreds of people we got to engage. I think we both pretty much lost our voices. Talking to people were really excited to look at the public art. We had so many people who hadn't seen. We have it's an activity board. I can show you. It's in my car if you want to go see it. We have an activity board that has images of just various art from around town. Like we have kind of a selection. Here's 2 from a park, here's 2 downtown, here's 2 sort of around town. And it's supposed to be a game where people can, which we will do at AthFest, which is why I'm inviting you. It's supposed to be a game where we take the photos off, there's clues on the board, and then people can match the photo to the location, and it's really fun, and kids are shockingly good at it, way better than adults. It's really funny. But anyway, so we've been using that for the last year, so we're open to like, let's change out the pictures or make a new version. We couldn't really use it in the way intended at Pride because it was so windy, and it's pretty low tech. It's just like Velcro sort of photos, so we didn't have any way to take them off and set it on to the table without being blown away. So we might want to look at making a more flexible version, like weather-wise, maybe something magnetic.
Yeah, right.
We can do it. Yeah, it wouldn't take any time and it wouldn't take any money. I mean, so we might want to do that in the next week, or we could do something like, we could still have that to display, and then we could come up with something more specifically around the Music Walk of Fame, maybe even just, here's a photo of the group and here's the name of the band, even if it's just educational and passive. I mean, it would just be great to highlight, like dig into that project. And we already have all the descriptions from the press releases, so I don't think we'd have to write anything, like I did for the clues, on the activity board, so just some options. But it was a great day, and I can't wait when Tatiana gets back. I really want to check how many people have signed up for the public art selection process, because we were really pushing that the whole time. We handed out individual slips, as I mentioned earlier, with a QR code on it and a like description, so that people didn't have to do it there and fill out the application, but they would take it home, think about it, and then do it later when they have time. So I think that's something we definitely want to keep doing forever and always. It's just, you're gonna remember it and actually do it probably better than if it was just a static QR code at the table that you would maybe scan it and then walk home and then close out the tabs, and that's it. So what else did we have at the table? We had our general pamphlets and things like that. We did activity board. That's pretty much it. Newsletter sign up we had.
Just a newsletter.
Yeah, and that was a static.
Yeah, that's sad, but yeah, it was a good turnout. I was fascinated by how many people and, you know, like, you should have public art. Yes, I'm like, okay. So that was pretty cool. For Athens, we can make sure we have what we need. But I think the tent didn't have the top.
Yeah, the fabric was not in the box with the
I think
tent.
we might not have it.
So we might need a,
Do we have one that we can, do we have another one that we can lend them?
Oh, yeah.
Okay.
yeah, that'd be great.
And then the
I
stand-up.
didn't find the stand-up banner.
I don't know where that is.
Yeah, so, but I think Tatiana will be in office before the event, so she
Yeah.
probably has it in mind of where.
So we can definitely get another pop-up tent because we have zillions of those. But I didn't realize that one, I think that one, I don't know. Like Tatiana moved from one office to the
Yeah.
other, so.
We looked all around and everything makes sense.
Did you guys take your own chairs?
Yep.
I had my own chair,
That trailer.
and I brought my table.
Yes, we used her table. Are there tables like here that we could borrow?
It's a
Something like
good
that.
key card purchase right there. A folding table and two.
Yeah, ideally like an 8-foot table, because the 6-foot one, I think it was 6 foot, yours.
Yeah.
It was a little small, for all the content we want to have and have like a space for.
But can you, I mean, like how to transport it though, we gotta have to do 2 of them, is that what you're, so you can just like tell me what you want and I can buy a new.
Yeah,
pop-up
got it
tent?
in hand.
Because those are not, they're body.
Mm-hmm.
You're gonna need some kind of more sturdy folding chair.
But yeah, I'll send you an email, about it, but the main thing was, tent is urgent for sure, but if we need, like, we can find our own chairs and tables, for the event for now, but like, I don't think.
I can just, you just tell me which ones you
Yeah,
want, I'll
great.
go and buy
That
them
sounds
and
good.
have it at the ready.
And hopefully we don't have to get another stand-up banner made, let's see, I mean, I think that's pretty much it for prepping for AFLs. Does anybody have any questions? I've already sent out the volunteer schedule. Well, here, yeah, so I already sent out the volunteer schedule. We're just doing Friday night since the announcement is that night, and before all you people got approved, there's no way we're gonna have enough people to table on Saturday. But yeah, if you want to stop by, there's 2 shifts, 4 to 7 and 7 to 10, that evening, and you can come and hang out as long as you want, maybe bring your own chair.
Do you know where your table's gonna be?
I don't know yet, but I'll send that out when we have the info so that you can come find us, but it'll be somewhere in, our
Are we
room
doing
here.
those fans again?
Yes, doing the fans, so I have a mock-up here. I cannot find my Photoshop file. And
Did you call? Didn't you have them made last year?
I did, but I just sent them the PDF. I didn't send them the PSD, so I don't know if they would be able to.
They have it on, they don't have it on there, still in there.
Maybe, I can ask. I just contacted them today for a quote. But so everybody knows, last year I just spent some time in Photoshop making, okay, so here's like the front. So we used the design of the, Music Walk of Fame plaque, to make a fan design. So that's kind of the front, and then I just got funky in Photoshop and edited out the middle for our words. And then I just made up a back using like I'm not that good at Photoshop, so I don't look too closely, but anyway, so we just put the map, this year, I just put on the map directly that Tatiana made last year. I had to edit it more, so that was saved me some time. So anyway, but I've already made the edits for this year. It doesn't look quite as perfect, but I will reach out to Belgians, just say like, ask if they have the same thing, but like, we can't exactly reuse the one from last year because it has last year's dates on it, and it has even specific like on the Pulaski Street stage at 7:50 p.m. on blah, blah, blah. So we want something more just, so right now it just says this. But I asked Belgian if they can, if they will be able to cut it out. So we will see. If not, then we can have a cutout party at Hendershots like we did last year or something.
I mean, we got, so how much will it take?
It should be fine, but just trying to.
Or pay to pay it.
Is there a vendor in town that does like funeral home fans and
Don't know.
church fans?
Nothing's pretty.
Do they?
Yeah, I don't know.
But someone thought about just doing a more generic thing so that we could just print a bunch of them and like have them.
No, we can do that. That's a good idea. I mean, just like, that's the thing is we don't have a lot of,
Swag.
we don't have swag, and we don't have like a lot of like creative content. We have our logo.
We got lots of money.
We could print so many fans, with just like the logo on it. And sticking it in,
Get like, if we got an ACH, some ACH and fans printed out. manufactured by the get a bunch of stickers, like whatever we sweat,
Yes.
try to get, like, you know, 'cause
Yes.
that's.
Go wild.
Yeah.
It is definitely outreach.
Maybe like pin.
Oh, that's
It's,
So the
it's probably what we productive, I'll just be honest, based on my experience with that kind of stuff.
AC fans, I mean, that's 100% achievable, the fans, that's fine. We could get 2,000 of them printed, and we give them out within the year, with all the events. And like at AFFEST last year, we ran out early, and people were still coming up to us asking for some, because it was hot.
Like the eye of the high.
Yeah.
I'm sure.
It's true. Stickers I've looked into, and we have lots of options, but the thing is, beyond our like logo, which is essentially the ACC Gov, like, building, like the Capitol City Hall, that's the word, and then Agricultural Affairs Commission, that's all we have, other than photos of bus shelters, et cetera.
I was thinking just like an I heart public art.
That's what I was thinking too, but I wanted to, I was sharing it with our outreach group in email, I didn't really get a lot of response though. It's okay.
I like art, I think that would be a great, you know, a great sticker to have.
With like the website at the bottom or
Yeah.
something.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Any other ideas? Like in the future, we would have like lots of ideas for things that cannot be done in 2 weeks. Like a bus shelter sticker run, stuff, stuff like that, but that would be hard. Magnets would be great. But I will say, we didn't have any other swag, we didn't have any swag to give out at Pride Fest, but we did give out these stickers, and they were very, very popular, and it's a quality sticker.
They were
I lost them on my phone now. And so we could also like, we can have a backup if these can't come in time or something. Any other ideas for swaggy stuff?
Say that you're the best outreach chair that we could possibly have.
I know at the cottage, we had yo-yos. People love yo-yos, with some sort of logo on them. Kids love them. Adults like to try them again. Bubbles were always good.
Oh,
Bubbles are great.
Yeah, we had a bubble machine when we would do outreach, and people just like a moth to the flame. The bubble machine.
Well, it
The
brings
quality
people
one,
over.
quality one,
If
yeah.
People want to see where it's coming from. so
I mean, and if you have the
draws them.
flexibility, you could order that
Maybe we could
2 days.
Alex just passed.
Sorry,
it'll be
I just
feast.
have a flashback to best job.
Cool. Oh, and then we also need to purchase that branded tablecloth, but that can definitely also be done in time.
Or those banners that we can hang. Like
Hang in the tent or hang?
hang in the tent or on the table.
Yeah, we're really trying, so I also got quotes from Satisfactory for the teas, which they can definitely get done in time, and it would be exactly what we talked about last time, like $275-ish, $100, not just $1,000. So we definitely have budget for it, we already talked about that last time, so that's gonna happen. That is just gonna be, if everybody's okay with it, just like white tea with a logo on it, and we'll get, the minimum order would be 24 or 25, which would be enough for this group, our staff liaisons if you like teas, and then also like hopefully the next round of people as well. Just getting broad range of sizes. I can do a survey for this particular group of people, and then we can kind of just go from average.
Can they be nice and soft?
Satisfactory only has quality materials.
The banner, because like what if we wanted to, instead of just tabling it Pride next year, tabling at Martin Luther King or whatever, we went to March and parade.
I know, we have the fun.
I see, yeah.
We do a Christmas float.
Oh, good Lord, it's done now.
What's a fan? Like to have a fan?
I'm like, we got fans. You mean,
Like, yeah, actual, like a,
just for the tent?
yeah.
You can put that stuff like that into an Amazon.
It's so
cart,
easy.
send me the link and I can organize
There you
them, so
go,
pay
there you
for
go.
tax free, so.
I don't think they're outlets, but even like the bathroom men might be.
Yeah, I just think this is an opportunity to be super fun and like, we want people to be like, I wanna go talk to public art, because I love leadership services, and I love public art, and this is great, and like, that's how I feel, honestly, that's how I feel about our solid waste department. Like, I love solid waste, because they are crushing outreach, they crush social media, and it's like, we are so fun, that should be us.
Also, candy,
Yeah.
You know, you could just.
Yeah, I thought Skittles bouncing off of, Tatiana's, the Rainbow Forest thing that she did, that could be a cute way to like, even just have a photo of Rainbow Forest and have a bowl of Skittles or something like that.
Yeah.
Any other things? You can message me later too, then we don't have to take the time right now.
Then I was trying to think what would be good for hot.
I've also reached out about hats. Those would be more expensive, and I don't know, not that, it's not really that much more expensive. I don't know if they could be done by AFS, but they might be able to be delivered before the end of the fiscal year.
What's that?
Hats. We're basically just trying to get at every sight line, have people know when we're tabling or doing a public event, know who we are. So that's the, that's why, you know, we have the table, we have the t-shirt, we have the hat.
Bouncing off the Rainbow Forest, if you were able to pull this off, have like, what are they called? The icy pop things that are different colors, giving those away. I don't know if like, if you're doing an Amazon cart, you might could throw a cooler in there. And
Or maybe
like a couple
there's
hundred icy pops.
We do, and how do you keep them frozen?
You would just, I know, you'd probably just have to put them in, put them in the freezer.
Yeah.
And then show up with them and try to keep them frozen. We were somewhere, it was during Pride. There was somebody who was walking through the parade and they were giving out. And I was like, thank you. Yes. I was like, this is a good idea. So.
I mean, that's something else we could think about if we want, if that would be cool. If, you know, we have two people we want to have two people at the tent at all times, but there's no reason we couldn't also go. I mean, I don't think there's a reason unless somebody has insight why we couldn't go around and like just hand out some more fans, hand out some whatever, and just get people happy to stay on the street and look at art as long as possible, which is my favorite.
Yeah.
Without take volunteers. So. Okay, I think let's say that's all for AthFest for now. If you think of other things, or if you have any time to look into, like I'll be the sticker person and I'll look up this website and, you know, communicate either via me to staff or whatever, because it's only staff that can actually look at anything. That would be great. I do have a lot of free time right now though, so I don't mind. Student summer, so. The other things I wanted to ask about, I think it's just we want to do a picnic, all together. And that's not an official meeting or anything. It's just a chance to get to know each other. I'm thinking early July, so we can kind of just, maybe you and I can like work on schedule with whatever onboarding date they're gonna have with our meeting, just make sure it's not all in the same week or something.
And just remember, if there's enough of you there that's quorum, then you need to mind your discussions around this work. Because if you're, enough of you are there in quorum, then you've unofficially held a cultural affairs meeting without announcing it publicly in advance.
Okay.
Does that make sense?
Yeah.
This is kind of the stuff you'll go
Yeah,
through.
so this is personal chit chat, not
Exactly,
county
so you can
business.
talk about, but not about work, this work that you do here in those spaces.
What about dog treats? Like a little dog bowl.
Dog treats. Get a water bowl.
And again,
Yes. Because people will be bringing their animals.
good dog recharge.
Okay. Yeah, we'll take any ideas. You have my information.
Yeah. Share any additional grand ideas with Madeline on email. We'll get an Amazon cart going. We'll just have all kinds of stuff and then we'll throw it all in Tatiana's office. That's where my head, I'm like, where's all this stuff gonna live?
She has so many offices, like.
I know, we'll find a space for it.
Okay.
We have things like tables and tents and chairs, so we can make those work.
Okay.
My car.
That's a wrap on this agenda. Is there any other items or things anyone would like to discuss?
Yeah, I just have a quick follow-up question from this discussion. I don't want us for like a whole other
Sure.
longer conversation, but I'm just curious in terms of like branding and merchandising. Are there opportunities for next fiscal year to work with artists in Athens to commission merch?
Great
So that
question.
it doesn't just feel so institutionally heavy
Mhm.
and representative of the community? Yeah, absolutely.
It's a great
Yeah,
idea.
that's what we talked about, exactly, that's what we talked about for like a sticker design or something like that, yeah.
So we can talk about.
There's just not time in the next 2 weeks, but
Sure.
yeah.
But we're not.
Yeah.
But when we think of our spending plan for next year, I think that needs to be a high priority because it does keep coming up and we just haven't got traction on it. So thank you for that.
On that, So are we saying that needs to be a separate special session, or can we just dedicate a lot of time at the next normal meeting, or like monthly meeting to figure that out?
Figure what out. The
Spending
Spending
plan.
plan, strategic plan, goals, aspirations.
Do you think that needs a separate meeting, or is there an agenda? Is there a way to do that in this meeting?
You can, you'd have to set that, you'd have to decide for yourselves, like, if you want to make this a long, like, say, we're gonna do this for this portion of the meeting and this for the second portion of the meeting. And then set some goals for like, this is what, you know, we want to achieve most of this by the second hour. So that's something y'all can decide amongst yourselves, and we'll put the call out there, or not the call, but make the announcement that the meeting's happening and that it includes both orientation and spending plan ideas. The spending plan can be a fairly broad document, I believe. It's something that we can, well, it can start off broad and then you can narrow, you can just be like, here's buckets of things we definitely want to hit on. This is outreach, this is like direct, you know, complementing works and things like that, so.
Well,
Are we gonna be
I'm
able
gonna
to
go
do
ahead and,
anymore?
what's
Are we
that?
gonna be able to do arts and community awards?
I think we'll have to do them differently than we've done them in the past.
But we got the guidance from the city attorney's office. That shouldn't have changed since your last update, right?
Yeah, it shouldn't have changed.
Shouldn't
It
have.
may have, so, yeah, it's the way we actually, they'll have to be on government property, so that's what that's the
Gotcha.
biggest specific.
And treated just like a SPOS project where it's like goes
And be on
through
the
mayor and
contract.
commission.
Yes, yes.
We will want it to be somewhat specific. The buckets can't be too big. If it was like this much for art and community type program, that makes sense. But we, at least what I took away from that meeting that we have at the manager's office was they were looking for some, you know, not $10 per target, but you know, still like various, when we can drive it, let's drive it.
We have a professional strategist and an MBA student, so we'll get a good plan.
So the next meeting is July the 10th. So what I may do is just send out an email and ask your opinion if y'all would like to extend that meeting or have a separate meeting. But I do think it's urgent to at least get, you know, we do have the work from the retreat that we did before, but it's also a matter of bringing this new team up to speed on some of those big bucket ideas. Some of those I don't think aren't even possible that we talked about before. So maybe we just try to figure out the big buckets at the next meeting and extend that meeting a little bit. And then maybe we have a special meeting after that. I don't know. I'll send an email out and get some feedback from the group on that. If that's
Are these
easy.
I'm sorry, are these typically held the second Monday of the month?
Second Monday,
6 to
6 to 8.
Good to know.
Mhm.
And there will be a retreat this summer, like for this upcoming year?
There will be. Well, there'll be an orientation, a welcome picnic. I think that the outreach committee will host or sponsor. And then I think we just have to decide if we need a special meeting for this goal setting and strategy. Part of me says yes. Knowing this group.
But that would be okay with like enough
Yeah.
notice, but it would still be a public, like, staff would have to be there, yada,
Right.
yada.
I have to announce it, yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
That would be what we call the retreat.
Oh,
Yep.
For outreach again, we didn't meet in the last couple of weeks, just time kind of flew by. Last advice we got from staff was if it's like this, if it's like a small committee below quorum, we didn't have to, like, we could do it on Zoom, we could do, like, it wasn't like an official meeting.
Yeah. it'd be below
Yes?
quorum.
What's that?
Below quorum.
Below quorum. Right, so that means below 5 or below, because 6 is quorum. So right now we have Esra, Montu, Kimberly, and me. I think that's it. So we can talk about, maybe a transition plan, and how we can like incorporate new members, because I think every new member is interested in outreach, which is awesome. But as we just like talked about, there's still ways to participate in ideation and et cetera. You don't have to necessarily go to those meetings. But we will want to think about, it's not like we have a term limit or anything for those, for the committee. It's pretty informal. But we will just want to put it out there. We might want to think about how to like roll new people on, give people time to do other things, or like what that might want to, whatever we want that to look like, but it's pretty informal, so. Yeah. Questions?
Awesome.
Sounds good.
Any other comments, questions? Yeah,
This is like
that's
probably
okay.
an onboarding question, but how many committees are there?
Just outreach.
Just outreach right now. There was a sort of strategy committee for a while that was trying, that got the retreat and all going last year and kind of spearheaded that piece of it, but then we've dissolved, but we probably need to regroup.
Yeah, other things could be like a special ad hoc, like we want to really dig into like a policy opportunity, or we want to yada yada, like something, like we could do more ad hoc, small things like that, but nothing else is like has ever been
Executive.
recurring.
Yeah, executive committee, there is an executive committee, just.
It meets now.
Yeah,
Nice.
that meets regularly,
Okay, that's true.
as of last month. We are regularly meeting. Okay, any motion to adjourn?
I move to adjourn.
Sally,
Second.
second? All in favor?
Yes.